Hey guys, Romeko here. Just going to go over a couple of new cards that I have for sale. Here is TG Hyper Librarian. You can see the N is a little bit misprinted. Anyway, this is the first card. This card is non-negotiable and it will be set at $45 for the Hyper Librarian. Ultra Mirror Force. Zephyros, that's a secret chaos, and that's an ulti chaos. Ultra Trigodia, gold morphing jar, and whatnot. Some of these cards may or may not have already been purchased, such as this polymerization and stuff like that. The Caius, the Wonder Magician. But PM me anyway and let me know, because the cards that I do have in my binder go fairly quickly. Because I'm at my locals quite a bit, as well as selling cards on YouTube, as well as a little bit on eBay. I do sell a little bit cheaper than everybody else. My trade proofs are listed on my homepage, or home video page, or whatever you want to call it. I have a lot of Six Samurai stuff if you guys need. My friend is actually trying to sell his Six Samurai stuff because he's quitting. He doesn't have time anymore for Yugioh and such. It's not going to be too heavily discounted. The cards are still good. The cards are in mint condition. They're still good cards. It's a good deck. However, we could probably get to some sort of deal. If you guys want, let me know if you guys have any Six Samurai related needs. That Nordic Lights is also gone. I've been constantly having to kind of shift cards in my binder up to the front, just so there's no holes, really, if you will. I have a lot of Magic stuff for trade. If you guys want, maybe I'll make that into a separate video. But for now, here's the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. In addition to selling cards, I'll take a quick moment to talk about the format after I post up this video, or after I start recording this, or finish this video, whatever. I see a lot of empty spaces in the binder. Cards were there. This is a set of this is gone as well. And now that they're sold, the things in here sell really fast. I also have 2 chain disappearances if anyone needs those. A Fiendish Chain if anyone needs that. What else? So that is what's in my binder for sale. Let's talk a little bit about the format. We're in the kind of format right now where the Six Samurai deck is just it's just a real big. It feels very slow, and it feels like it doesn't have many options. When your opponents have you locked down and they have 5 or 6 ways to get out of any sort of predicament, and you only have maybe 1 or 2, and even those 1 or 2 ways seem very, very situational at best. So that being said, the Six Samurai archetype is a great archetype. It's great even now, but the only problem is that Konami has brought out broken cards, really broken cards, and I don't mean like the Xian is broken because it can negate one card per turn, kind of broken. But broken on a whole nother level, where it just changes the game mechanics into something that's really unfair for other players, as well as unplayable for players who are just starting out the game. They can't go out and buy an entire Chaos Plants or a TG, Tengu, whatever the hell it is that people are calling it these days. These things cost a fortune. They're too broken. A set of Tengu is apparently $60 now. It's really crazy. But let me go over the 3 factors that keeps Konami from kind of getting out of this mess, what they've created actually. First being rarity spikes. Things such as Solemn Warning, a common in the OCG, in the TCG here at home. What is it? Ultra and Ulti. What does this do exactly? It makes it so people like ourselves who buy packs are unable to get our hands on this card unless we buy like 1 or 2 or 3 boxes. That's great for Konami. It's really bad for us as players, because once they stop reprinting the boxes, the supply of the card just starts to wane, and what happens is the prices go way up, especially if there's no guarantee of having 2 ultras or whatever per box anymore. So that being said, a card like this, which is a common in OCG, should not be worth more than $3 in TCG, or $5, or even $10 at most. How much is this worth? 70. You know what I mean? At one point it was hitting the 90 area, right? So when you have a or like an economy like that in the TCG, it's just really difficult for everyday players to get out there, start making a deck with 2 of these, and a Solemn Judgment, and a Mirror Force, and like and 3 Pot of Dualities. It was just impossible. That is one primary factor why Konami is not going to balance this format, because only rich players, or players that have heavily invested in this game, will I guess, and I mean heavily invested in the sense of monetary investment, not really personal investment. I could be the best Yu-Gi-Oh player, but if I don't have $500, I'm not going to be the best Yu-Gi-Oh player. You know what I mean? So it's turning into a money game rather than a skill game. And on top of that, going first has way too many advantages. So that's our second problem, right? We've built into a kind of built into a format where going first literally means you can lock down your opponent starting turn 1. And I think that's completely unfair. There needs to be cards that can be played right from your hand on your opponent's first turn, just in case you don't have anything to counter their first opening giant move. You know what I mean? Some people draw really broken hands. If I set up 2 Xians or a Xian and a Nichiria Beast back in, I guess, 2 weeks ago, or I mean, not even 2 weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, when that was even possible and a good strategy, you're locked. You can't set any spells or play any spells, and if you activate anything else on turn 2, I'll just negate it with Xian. So that was too ridiculous. I'm not talking about samurai. I'm not saying the samurais should get hit or anything like that, but more on the lines of combos like that ruin this game. So there's no skill involved at that point. I can see anybody doing that as long as they have, an Elder, an Asceticism, and like a Dojo, whatever. All you need for that combo is very minimal cards and very minimal strategy. So that's the second problem with this game. First problem, rarity spike. Second problem, stupid combos that you can pull off turn 1. With a game like Magic, they started banning cards or removing cards from the standard format, where if they have turn 3 or lower combos, those cards are gone. See, that's the kind of mechanic that you guys need in this game. You need a game mechanic where you can actually get to turn 5 and not feel like an idiot because you didn't draw 1 card in your deck. And that kind of prevented you from winning. So cards are way too situational. Cards only work within their archetype. Like, look at this. Every card in this deck is a 6 Samurai card, and if you try to add other cards, it becomes confusing, it becomes unplayable, and it becomes cluttered. Similar to a certain, a lot of other decks where if you try to start adding in tech cards that are a little bit, good in other decks, they don't work. You need to have start having cards that are more all-around, like Solemn Warning, but stop printing them in rarities such as ultra rare. And I think that's the biggest fix that Yu-Gi-Oh can do for its players. When you have a card like Solemn Warning, print it as a freaking common, or like a regular rare, or maybe even super rare or something, so it doesn't inflate itself to prices like $90 or $200 or whatever. And if all players can get it, that will create itself a format where it's inexpensive, it's good for all players, and people with the best strategies will win. So for example, Solemn Warning is the only creature negation card where it stops all kinds of different kinds of summons, special summons, normal summons, flip summons, whatever the hell you want for 2,000 life points. Why is there only one card like this? You know what I mean? In other games, there's usually 2 or 3 cards depending on what kind of deck you're running. Why don't samurais have their own archetype version of Solemn Warning, right? You can say Musakani Magatama is there, but Musakani Magatama doesn't stop summons, it just stops destruction. So maybe having specific archetype kind of negation would also help this game. And on top of that, people can, like myself, can, let's, throw out a Xian, set 4 back row, end my turn, and from that point, your opponent has to start working at picking off your back row. See how unfair it is to start going first to be going first in this game? So another good way to balance that would be to bring back Heavy Storm, put MST at 3. It would make people very, very scared to run a heavy back row, heavy deck. So you would see traps decreasing from like 12 or 10 or whatever they are right now to maybe like 6 or 7, you know what I mean, or 8. Maybe more magic cards, because you want to be able to control what you're playing and be able to control it when you're playing it. So maybe more quick play cards. I think quick play is probably the best mechanic I've ever seen in this game. It can be activated on either player's turn. It can be activated during the damage step if it increases or decreases attack, and it's generally a very good mechanic, and it's probably the best one I've seen in this game yet. Like when we're talking about just regular trap cards, counter trap cards, quick play is very good. You can you should be able to have cards that activate on either player's turn, and it doesn't have to be on the field. I think having field advantage, having field advantage is kind of overrated these days, where you can set 4 back row, like I said, end your turn, and your opponent just has a massive, massive disadvantage to start working with. So those are some of the feelings that I have about this format. I'll still continue to play my deck, but I'll probably just play for fun at the moment. I will be going to YCS Toronto. What else can I say? I think that's about it. That's about my rant. Tell me how you guys are feeling about this format. I'm not trying to bitch and complain and say that Konami should change everything, but it would be great for them to start changing up the main things that are screwing up this game, right? Remember when Xian came out, it was $50. There's no reason to put this card at $50. If this is $50 and this is $90, this is a retarded way to carry on with this game. And I'll give you guys a very good example of Magic the Gathering, where a card like Solemn Warning, its equivalent is called Mana Leak, and the blue I guess color runs it, and it's worth like 25 to 50 cents. Everybody can have that card. Everyone can play 4 of it in their deck. You know what I mean? It balances out the format in the way that it's so accessible that even the worst player will be able to do something, right? And I think that's what a card like this is meant for. It's meant for the everyday player and not for the player who's willing to go out and shell $50, right? That's what cards like Jace the Mind Sculptor and stuff like that are for. So Konami needs to get its priority right, I guess that's a pun on words. And last but not least, they need to drop that priority ruling like ASAP, because that's screwing up the entire game. When you add all of these factors together, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, because there's some decks that can just run wild with this whole priority ruling, like Reborn Tengu, Tour Guide. Like, these things are just gonna wreck the format, and I'm not saying ban them. I'm just saying change up the way that your game mechanic works, right? How can you even, in Magic you can mulligan your hand and draw a new set of cards if you have a really bad opening hand. You can't even do that in Yu-Gi-Oh! If you have a really shitty hand, just move to game 2. What kind of game is that, right? So, that being said, I'll end my rant. Let me know your feelings on this. Let me know if you guys want to buy my friend's 6 Samurai deck. He has it for sale. I think he's selling it individual cards, or priced at individual cards, not really like a whole set, unless you guys want to buy the set. But that is it. Take care, YouTube. And let me know if you guys need anything. And if you see something in the binder that's not there, just PM me and I will try to find it for you, and I'll let you know. I usually check my messages quite often. Alright, peace YouTube. Take care.